Hi guys, welcome to part 8. First thing today, we're going to be implementing a basic checkpoint system. So we'll create an empty game object, and how this checkpoint is going to work is that when you enter the box collider that will be attached to this game object, then it will set the position of this game object as the last checkpoint. But now, first thing that I want to do is create a gizmo for this game object. So what a gizmo is basically like all these things that you see here, the lights and the camera. They've got these little icons, which don't appear, of course, in the actual game view. And you've actually got a gizmos tab here, and you can change the size of these icons. So that's what a gizmo is, and we're going to create one for our spawn points. So we'll just create a C# script. I'm going to call it box gizmos, and I'm calling it that because all of these will take a box collider. So we'll say require component type of box collider. So anything you attach the script to will be forced to have a box collider component, and we'll have a public color. You can call this gizmo color. And now in one of Unity's methods called void onDrawGizmos, this gets called automatically. We can say, first of all, gizmos.color equals gizmo color, and then we can say gizmos.drawCube, and for our center we'll say transform.position plus hold on, we've got to get the components. We'll say get component, and we're getting the box collider component dot center, and we'll do the same thing for size over here. Oh, center.size, just size, just like that. Okay, and now back in Unity we'll attach the script to here. Where is it? Okay, so now if we change the color of this, you can see that our gizmo is being drawn here, and if we were to adjust the size of the box collider, then the gizmo adjusts along with it. Okay, so just something like that will be fine for our checkpoint area. So just to rather make it clear, the gizmo is just for use as a visual aid in the editor. It won't affect the actual game at all. So now we'll turn this box collider into a trigger, and by the way, if you want to disable the gizmos, you can just close up this component, or in the gizmos bar here you've got scripts, box gizmos, and you can just disable it like that. And we can even give the script a special icon, something like that maybe, and now it's differentiated from the other scripts. Okay, so we're going to create a new tag, and this can be called checkpoint. And while we're at it, I'm just going to create another one called spawn, which will be used a little bit later on in the video. And I'll go into monodevelop, into the player controller, and we'll create a new method, void on trigger enter. It's another one of Unity's methods that are called automatically. It takes a